Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bundesliga show. We are back for 2025-26 as a brand new channel. You've seen it probably all, hopefully by now on social media. We're back. Obviously, this is now the Bundesliga show. Really, really excited to crack on. Myself and Mark are super pumped. It feels so strange to do this because obviously I didn't do many shows towards the end of the season because of the birth of my first young child. It's been a while. Good to be back. Mark, how the devil are you?
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Yeah, obviously we've had a lot of upheaval over the summer, haven't we? Especially in relation to the channel and things. So yeah, happy to be back as a Bundesliga only channel now. Obviously, we can go all in. Obviously, with the team we've got together, myself and you, Rory, and obviously the other guys as well. We've got a lot of opportunity to really kind of go all in on the Bundesliga. Obviously, starting tonight with the transfer roundup, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. So tonight, we wanted to start off the season, obviously myself and Mark, to kickstart. We've got loads of preseason content to come in the next few weeks. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But tonight, we thought we'd give ourselves a bit of a refresh as to what's happened, obviously, over the last few months. Quite a lot of business, incomings and outgoings. So we want to try and factor in who's won the window so far, who's really messed up, who's in the middle, and obviously how that shapes up for our season to come. We're going to look at new head coaches, like predictions, fantasy, all that stuff in the next few shows. Tonight, we're just going to try and review what's happened so far, have a bit of fun with it. Obviously, everyone that's watching, good evening to you all. Thank you for joining us. Nice to see Justin in the comments saying hello. Hope you're well and looking forward to a fresh season. That's what we're going to get on with. Obviously, it'd be wrong of me now not to start to try and push our social media out there and promote as much as possible. So obviously, you can find us on social media now, obviously under the new tag of the Bundesliga show. So make sure you find us on. What are we on? We're on X, we're on Instagram, we're on Threads, we're on Blue Sky. If you just search for the Bundesliga show, that's where you'll find us. And then just before we get into it, of course, make sure you can, if you leave a like on this show, comment along, have your say, subscribe to the channel. That would mean a lot to us. And turn on notifications because there's a lot coming your way. And again, before we get into it and start off with some teams and some business, big shout out to our partners and sponsors for this season. So first of all, our partners in crime, bullynews.com, or Bully News, Runa and the gang are going to be helping us and partnering up with us again this season for fantasy football and the rest. Really can't wait to get into that. We had so much fun with that last season, so I really appreciate those guys supporting us with those, with that content and looking forward to getting stuck into the season. And another then big shout out to Rich over at Covert Football Trips, who's kind of like the umbrella company in regards to the Bundesliga boxes. So we've partnered up as a sponsorship this season, again, but more kind of focusing on the German mystery weekends, which is something brilliant that resonates with us so much. It's a fantastic, company and weekend away that you can get. So for the time being, you guys are very, very lucky that we have got a promotion / discount on with Covert Football Trips. So if you have a little look in the description of this video and go use that web link, you'll be able to get yourself £50 off, German mystery weekends. If you pop that into the checkout, there'll be an option to put in a discount code. And if you put in the discount code of TBS 50, that is how you will get that £50 discount. Absolutely awesome. So generous of Rich. Wicked way for us to start the season. So make sure you make the most of it. Some awesome trips that I've been on at the moment, and you can get yourself some awesome games. and just enjoy it. So I'll be mentioning it again at the end of the show. Link is in the description of this video. We'll make sure we promote it loads and loads so you don't miss out. So really, really awesome way for us to start this season. So thank you to Rich. That's absolutely awesome. We'll leave that on there for now. So then, Mark, we've done the necessaries. 2025-26 Bundesliga season, our 6th season, our first as a channel outright. And we're doing transfers early doors. Obviously, there's still a good month or so to go in the window, but we're saying who's won and lost on the market so far. So where do you want to start? Do we want to just do like a winner, mid, and loser kind of way, or do we want to do winners, losers, mid? Let us know in the comments if you want to have your team come up next. I'll just throw it over to you first, Mark, to give me a winner and a loser, and we'll tick the teams off as we go along. Who do you think has had really good window, and then tell me who's had a really bad window, and let's run through some of these top signings.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I mean, for me, the biggest winners so far have actually been the team from down in Breisgau, SC Freiburg. I think they've had by far the most impressive window. When you kind of calculate incomings and outgoings as well combined, then, I mean, they've had a really, really brilliant window. Obviously, today we're recording on the 4th of August, so there's still round about 4 weeks or so to go of the season left. So let's not, count our horses just yet, but count our chickens, I should say. I'm forgetting the English idioms nowadays as well. Yeah. Basically, let's just have a little run through of Freiburg's business. So first of all, they brought in Yuito Suzuki from Brøndby in Denmark. I mean, he's got a market value of 10 million, and that's exactly what they paid for him as well. And we know that Japanese players do well in the Bundesliga, don't we? Especially attacking midfielders, and that's exactly what he is as well. Very, very highly rated, only 23 years of age, comes in with a real kind of big reputation as well from over there in Denmark, north of the German border. So definitely an impressive start. They followed that up with a right winger, Syriac Irie as well. I think another one that we're going to have a few pronunciation problems with this season potentially. But again, an 8.5 million euro signing with a market value of 8 million from Troyes in France. Check my French pronunciation there as well. But yeah, I definitely think there's some really, really impressive signings in there. Obviously, the Freiburg, a team that are famous for wingers, really, aren't they? And obviously, most likely the replacement for Ritsu Doan, who was like the one and only kind of big outgoing, really, from this team. They've also brought in the likes of Matanovic as well from Frankfurt. They kind of needed that big target man striker, and that's exactly what he is. Looked quite impressive in the little parts we saw of him last season at Frankfurt. I think one of the underrated signings as well is Philip Troy from St. Pauli as well. I think that's a real underrated signing for just a few million as well, 5 million roundabout they've outlaid on him, the right back, who was one of the best right backs in the league last season. And on top of that, they've also managed to bring in Derry Sachant as well, who was excellent at Hertha Berlin last season. I actually saw him score a goal against Nuremberg, which, let's be honest, isn't that difficult, but he looked quite impressive for a Zweite Liga player too. Probably not going to get too much credit. Anthony Young has come in as well from Bremen, but I would imagine he's going to be a kind of squad player with a lot of experience. So there's not really a bad signing amongst them, in truth. In terms of outgoings, obviously Ritsu hasn't left just yet, but it's very likely that he will depart the club, potentially to Frankfurt or elsewhere. That is deep in talks. But aside from that, at the minute, only really Kilian Sildilia has finally left the club after many years of speculation. He's gone to PSV Eindhoven for about 6 million euros, which is a decent fee to recoup for a young player as well. So very good business, I think, overall. Overall, they are 26 million down, but I guess they'll look to recoup a large amount of that from the sale of Ritsu Doan, who I'd imagine would command a fee of around about 20 million euros as things stand. So definitely some very good business from them. Yeah, as for biggest loser, I think I actually went for Bayer Leverkusen, incredibly, is the biggest loser of the Bundesliga season so far in the transfer window. Now, some people may ask, they've spent money, they've gone there and they've spent around about 100 million euros, but let's not forget the amount of money that they've recouped is enormous, basically, including the 125 million euro sale of Florian Wirtz to a Liverpool team who always claim they've got no money, but it doesn't seem it this year, does it, after a big raid on the Bundesliga. As for incomings, they've obviously brought in Jarrell Kwanzaa from Liverpool, who's the big name signing, if you like. But for me, I'm not quite convinced. I think they've overpaid a little bit at 35 million, really, after he has a market value of only 20 million euros. Obviously, Malik Tillman, who's come in from PSV Eindhoven, but from what I've seen of him, I've not really seen him as a 35 million euro player in the past. So I'm a little bit, jury's still out on him for me a little bit. They've also brought in the likes of Mark Flecken back in the Bundesliga. Good to see him again. To obviously replace Hadatsky and Kovar, who have both left, ironically. They've also brought in Marza from Hertha Berlin, who's probably a kind of future-oriented signing, potentially, for 12 million. And the likes of Kofane, Fai, and Orman have all come in probably to add a little bit of squad depth and youth. As for outgoings, I mean, we all know, we've talked a lot about that, haven't we, over the summer? It's been the big kind of talking point in Germany, really. Florian Wirtz, Jeremy Frimpong, Kosunu, Granit Xhaka, Jonathan Tah, Hadatsky, and Kovar have all left Die Werkself this summer. And obviously some other names are also linked away as well, Rory. What do you think? I mean, would you say Leverkusen have made a loss so far, or can we be a little bit more positive than I'm being about them so far?
Well, they're certainly in the losers category, aren't they? I think, the young players that they've brought in so far obviously have potential. We see it in the Bundesliga all the time. Young players getting their chance. I think the thing is, to me, like someone like Kwanzaa going for 35 million euros just feels like too much for a player that was just okay. It's just because Liverpool are a really well-run team that they get that much money. Obviously, it's a complete refresh under Erik ten Hag. He'll have an opinion on Dutch players naturally with his past. So Tillman coming in makes sense. Flecken coming in after a very wobbly time at Brentford doesn't inspire confidence. I don't think he did great in the pre-season game. Ten Hag's first one, which was a shock. Was it like massive loss, wasn't it? By like 4 or 5 goals. So that didn't go too well. Like we're doing it so far, obviously. So far, I'm not super impressed. And a reset is needed, but they need leaders. They've lost Tar, they've lost Xhaka. They're leaders, aren't they? So they need players to step up ultimately. But yeah, I definitely have them in a bit of a struggle area for now. Let's quickly just wipe through some of the teams that have not done much business. So we've kind of put them in our mid category, haven't we, Mark? And Justin's asked the question about Frankfurt, so we can kind of tie this in quite easily. So what have Frankfurt done with their Hugo Ekitike sale? Well, obviously the big thing that they've done is supplement that 125 million euros with Johnny B. Johnny Burkhart comes in from Mainz for 21 million euros, not much at all. Christensen signs on a permanent deal after a loan, but other than that, nothing's really happened on the Frankfurt side. They've still got Wahi to come good, maybe Batshuayi to come through. But there's presumably got to be stuff going on. So that swap in terms of Burkhart being a proven Bundesliga goal scorer is fine. But that's why we have the mid, isn't it, Mark? A good deal to get Burkhart in early doors. And if they can maybe get Douan over the line, that would be 2 bits of good business. But at the moment, it's kind of just mid-range. So what other team did we note down as being mid?
Yeah, I think another one has got to be currently, obviously, all the talk at the minute is on Borussia Dortmund, but I think we were kind of undecided, weren't we, a little bit, whether we were going to put them in the losers or the mid tier. But I think we were kind of lower mid to upper losers, so almost really, I would say. I mean, obviously, the BVB, for a club of their size and reputation, the biggest attendances in Europe on average, just an absolute institution of European football, really. And to have said that the only real proper signing they've made this year is Joe Bellingham from the Championship for, again, in my eyes, a massively overinflated fee of 30.5 million. I mean, for a man who's never played above the Championship, I mean, that is a hell of a lot of money. And I think, as the whole footballing world is saying, really, at the minute, it screams as being, please be your brother, basically, I mean, obviously, it just screams of that, doesn't it? I mean, obviously, Job has never really been rated anywhere near as high as Jude. So, obviously, we will have to see that. He's still only 19 years old, and he was one of the players of the Championship last year. So, let's give him some credit. But, 30.5 million for a 19-year-old, who's, market worth was only 22 million too. So it's not like a Bundesliga team to pay more than the market worth by transfer market, because pretty much German teams treat that as like the Bible of transfers, effectively. Obviously, it is a German site as well. The only other one is Jan Couto. I mean, why have they triggered a 20 million deal for him? Like, the guy barely put a foot right last year. I was very shocked to see them trigger 20 million for him. That seems massively overinflated to me. Obviously, they did manage to finalise the transfers of Daniel Svensson, which is clearly a very good piece of deal.
Good.
One other one, a kind of niche transfer as well, is, but the Bundesliga show legend Patrick Drues has somehow managed to find his way as well. I think, obviously, a man that was much maligned on this show for his poor performances for Bochum last year has ended up getting a move to one of Europe's biggest clubs. So, he's done all right out of that, hasn't he? Obviously, the outgoings as well. I mean, only really one major outgoing. It's obviously that man, Jamie Gittins, hasn't it? Obviously, 56 million represents a good amount of money, I've got to say, for a man who really only had half a good season for them. And he had massively gone out of favour with Kovac. So I wouldn't say that's terrible business, but when you look at what they brought in, it's not good. And obviously, another one we got to mention too is obviously Moukoko as well, who we talked about so much over the years with, pretty much he started off as like a 16-year-old, didn't he, when we started doing the show, Rory? And I guess he's going to be around about 21 now. And he's obviously left the Bundesliga. He's gone to Copenhagen, which I'm sure Rune, a friend of the show, and obviously esteemed colleague, will be really happy to see him in Denmark. But it seems a bit of a flop, really, for him, a man who had the world at his feet, really, for a long period, didn't he? So sad to see him leave to a relatively underwhelming move, but I'm sure he still has time to build his career again. But Rory, what do you make of Dortmund? Do you agree on them, or...?
Yeah, the sad thing is, like, the ambition that Dortmund have showed this window. Like, obviously, in years gone by, we're used to seeing them go out and get, those top signings, or at least, really exciting players, tapping into, English academies and finding those, next big talents. And seems like their tactic right now is just to bed in, let players run out contracts, like Brandt and Emre Can and players like this that should be moved on. There just doesn't seem to be a great desire to refresh anything. There doesn't seem to be a great desire to compete with Bayern, because they just right now don't seem to think that they've got any chance, which is really disappointing. Like, seeing them linked with like Chukwuemeka from Chelsea, like on a permanent deal, it's just like, that's just not a Dortmund signing. It's just, it obviously is now, but like, it's just, he's not going to change a team for it, like for next season. So that's the most disappointing thing, and that's why I placed them in my losers category right now, because it just doesn't speak to me the way that they're approaching the market. Obviously, Dortmund fans that are watching live now or subsequently, please do have your say. I've seen a lot of malcontent, on socials in regards to the way that Dortmund have approached things. So yeah, have your say. Let us know what you think. But yeah, certainly not been the best approach from Dortmund so far. Let's cover a couple more teams. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's have a little look at our two newbies. Who we're going to talk about a heck of a lot over the next few weeks. If we start off with obviously FC, Köln are back after a short spell of not being in the league, Mark. They've come up with obviously Hamburg, who we'll talk about a little bit in a moment after their long spell out of the top division. But in terms of their business, you kind of hard convinced me to put them as winners. I was a bit unsure as to maybe whether they were mid or not, because I'm a little bit down, pardon the pun, on the players that they've lost. So it's like, I think they have signed well. So, but in terms of the players that have gone out, promoted sides have lost Damien Downs to Southampton. That's a really disappointing one. The American young starlet has moved on. Finn Grafe, of course, has gone to Leipzig, so that's a big signing for Leipzig. Of course, Lempel, who scored a lot of goals for them last season, has gone to Hoffenheim. Lubicic has gone to Zagreb. One of our favourites, Mark Uth, is now retired. So that's another bit of Bundesliga experience is what you look for in those promoted sides, and that's stripping out a lot. But then what I will say is that I like their recruitment. One player that I think you've seen a few times in action, Mark, is Ragnar Ake.
Legend, true cult hero,
yeah. So he returns to the Bundesliga with the Billy Goats, now from obviously Kaiserslautern. I see that as a really good business. Hope he goes well. They have brought in some Bundesliga experience. So Marius Bulter has come in from Hoffenheim. So he's a warhorse. He'll go well. Kraus as well, midfield steel. I like that. As well as Kaminski from Wolfsburg. Maybe not as brilliant. The one interesting bit of business they have done is dip into the Zweite. And there's been a lot of these sort of signings, Mark, in terms of Zweite Bundesliga ones. And we know they don't always work out too well. But yeah, Johan Esson from Fortuna Düsseldorf comes in as a central midfield option for 5.5 million euros. Could be important because he was involved in 17 goal involvements last season for Düsseldorf. So that's one that definitely speaks to me. And why didn't you finish? Have you say on what Köln have done if you're half impressed, which I think you are, and then you can lead us off on Hamburg, of course, who have done some interesting business as well.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with what Köln have done. I think when you consider, we all know that teams that come up from the Bundesliga, financially, they're not usually in the best of fettle. And I think they've shown ambition, as you say, the signing of Ake. I mean, he's been linked with a return to the Bundesliga for years now. And he's a born goal scorer, that boy. I mean, myself and Peter have seen him live countless numbers of times, and he scores pretty much every time we see him. So unfortunately, a lot of them are against Nuremberg as well, sadly. But he's a hell of a striker. And I've always said that he's Bundesliga standard, and finally someone's taken a punt on him. And I think they'll get the rewards from that. As you say, Isak Johansson, I'm not quite as optimistic about, because I did see him live last season as well. And he that particular day, he underwhelmed a little bit. But I do believe, obviously, the 17 goal contributions speak to themselves. He's a youngster, and I think he's an exciting signing, ultimately. I mean, they obviously saw enough in him last year in the 2 games against Düsseldorf to bring him in. So I think it's a positive signing. But I also think Bulter as well. This is this is the kind of signing that keeps you in the division, because I feel as though Bulter, everywhere he's gone, he's always done well for me. I just think he's a really underrated player. And I think even at Hoffenheim, the fans liked him there, and he definitely did his shift for the 2 years he was there. I also think Tom Kraus is a great pickup as well. I get another former Nürnberger. And I just think he's always been a good player at Bundesliga level. Didn't really quite do it at Mainz, did he? But I felt as though his spell at Bochum last year, we saw him pick up his kind of best form in that last 6 months again. So I think he adds tenacity and, bite to that midfield, which they're going to need if they want to stay up. I think, the likes of Kaminski, that's the kind of signing that could either go well, but if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world because they've not paid anything for him. So basically, obviously a player that has been rated and has never really delivered, but still has a market value of 5 million euros. So on paper, it looks a good signing as well, really. So quite excited for them. And as things stand, I believe they have enough to stay up from what I've seen. Then as for HSV, obviously Hamburg, one of the big kind of, everyone's been waiting for them to come back to the Bundesliga, haven't they? We're all excited to see the, one of the giants of German football back where they belong in the top flight, in the Königsklasse. But what have they done transfer-wise? It's also been pretty impressive as well, which really kind of makes it exciting, because quite often, with these teams that come up from the Zweite, you're already kind of condemning them just after the window, basically. But with these two teams, you feel as though they've signed quality across the board, really. And obviously Hamburg, for me, one of the big pickups was Yusuf Poulsen from RB Leipzig. I feel as though he's always been a good player. He's still only 31, even though it seems though he's been around for like 20 years. But I mean, he obviously not played very much the last couple of seasons, but he always seems to grab a goal, doesn't he? He's always got a goal in him. Obviously, by the back end, he kind of outstayed his welcome a bit at Leipzig, but I definitely think that's a great move for him and for Hamburg as well, because he's got Bundesliga experience, a record of scoring goals. Is exactly what you need at this level. I think Remberg is also a smart signing. Obviously, a player we talked up a lot at Kiel last year. They've only paid 2.5 million for him, and he looks smart business. Ryan Philippe as well is another one from the Zweite from Braunschweig, another one of the kind of star performers last year. He's one that I'm not quite as sure if he's going to be able to do it at Bundesliga level. But again, it looks a smart signing on paper. He certainly was very good last year in this fight for Braunschweig. But making the step up will be tough. I think another good signing is central midfielder Capaldo as well. They've got from Salzburg. From what I've heard, he was one of their better players. They picked him up for 2 million, and even though he had a market worth of 5 million. So it looks good value. Peretz too. Peretz from Bayern, great signing in net. I mean, he looked pretty good for Bayern, didn't he, when he played? Maybe not a world beater, but I think by bottom of the league standards, he's a very good, shrewd loan signing as well. There's a whole host of them that they brought in. They've also brought in a couple of youngsters in from Ghent, Turuginia. I think we're going to struggle with that one if he plays a lot.
I'm glad you said his name first, because I didn't want to say it.
Central defender, but I would imagine there's a chance he will start as well, looking at his past. So good signings there. The only really major out was Ludovic Rice, which is a blow because he was probably their key midfielder. He's been picked up by Champions League bound Club Bruges for 6 million. So, they can't really say no to that. But aside from that, no major outgoings. So, there is one more. We got to mention, obviously, our boy, Davy Selke as well, who was actually the top scorer in this fight last year, who's made the rather, to be honest, baffling move to Istanbul Başakşehir. I don't know why he didn't fancy a chance of going at number 9 striker for Hamburg in their return season. So maybe it was a money issue, I don't know, but it did seem a little bit strange for both parties that they couldn't find an agreement there after he managed to bang in 21 goals in this fight last year. But I wouldn't be overly worried because we know that he's had his struggles, and I feel as though Poulsen is definitely a step up from Selke overall. So, positive times for Hamburg as well.
Yeah, agreed. Some nice positivity there for the new boys, and we'll talk more about them, as I said, in future shows. Let's cover some teams that are maybe going to struggle, and based on their business so far, we'll whip through these a bit quicker. first one off the top of my head, and from looking at it, is St. Pauli. Really, again, so if we look at the business that they've done, they brought in Joel Chima Fujita, who's a defensive midfielder from the J League. So yeah, again, trying to strengthen up that core. Obviously Pauli did so well defensively last season, which I get. They've also brought in quite nicely Lewis Oppie. He comes in a good little steal actually from Bielefeld, left back, who's obviously presumably going to be the replacement for Throw. So that's a good bit of business. He's highly rated. But aside from that, it's not much, I'm afraid. And you look at the players that they have lost. So Tro, obviously gone to Freiburg, Gilavugi and Elias Saad, have moved on. Saad obviously to a Bundesliga rival as well, off to Augsburg. The loans of Van der Heyden and Weishaupt obviously have ended, so losing there. Eggestein and Bukalfa leaving on freeze. I mean, for me, that just right now it doesn't look good for St. Pauli based on what other teams have done. They're not the only team, which I'm going to describe it again in a sec. But the FCSP are looking like I think they'll struggle maybe. But again, Pauli fans, please do have your say. It'd be really interesting to hear from some of you to hear what you think of your summer business so far. Another team, Mark, that's struggling is Heidenheim for me. I think I don't think it's a secret that they don't have loads of money to splash, which I completely get. Don't worry, Justin, we're coming on to Leipzig very soon. Just for you, there's definitely lots to talk about Leipzig incomings and outgoings, for sure. But Heidenheim, Paul Vanna's replacement is basically another Bayern loanee in the shape of Ibrahimovic, not Zlatan, unfortunately, for Heidenheim fans. That would be brilliant. Imagine him rocking up to Heidenheim. That would be absolutely hilarious.
About 45 or something. Yeah.
I'm sure he's absolutely smash it. But yeah, attacking midfielder from Bayern, youngster, absolutely got things to prove. He might hit the ground running. He might do another Vanna and then disappear for the rest of the season. Ramage comes in as a goalkeeping option from Dortmund, gives competition to Muller, doesn't he? But it doesn't completely inspire. And like I say, the squad is more or less the same. I haven't lost loads. Obviously, Vanna, Kratzig loans have expired. But just based on what I've seen, a couple of players have been moved on and contracts ended as well. They struggled last season as the season went on. And if they can't bring in a bit more quality and depth, obviously they don't have Europe this season to think about. So they can just go week to week. But I think those two really look quite weak at the moment, Mark, but again, they're going to have to just dip into the Zweite, into, 3 Liga, and maybe even the Championship is what seems to be a common theme at the moment for some Bundesliga clubs. So just quickly summarise what your thoughts on those two, if you can, and then let's move on to another winner, which I think, is going to be Justin's team.
Yeah, you analysed it really well, Rory, but it's dire for both of those two. That's what I would say, especially Pauli, because as you say, they've literally lost the entire heart of that team. And from what I was analysing it before the show, Rory, and I couldn't find a single decent striker on that roster at all. We know that they struggled to score goals even with Gilavugi, who has obviously got a decent move to Lens after improving the back end of the season, but he's obviously gone. They've lost Eggestein too. I mean, he's literally gone. Where's he gone now? He's gone to Austria Vienna. That's how bleak things are for them. Really, they've got players leaving them to go and play in the Austrian Bundesliga. So yeah, the only signing that they've made up front is Ricky J. Jones from Peterborough.
Yeah, that's just
he's not played above the third tier in England, and his market worth is only 900,000 euros. I mean, that is bleak. And as you say, they've lost a plethora of other good players too. Troy, Saad, Bukalfa, Wagner has gone as well. Obviously, after a loan, it's just wow. It's not good for them. And as you say, Heidenheim, they're just so limited what they can do. They've got a budget of a Dritte Liga team trying to fight their way in the Bundesliga basically, and they've done well to stay up twice, really. And I think this year, unless they can provide a miracle really with that same group of players, it's going to be tough. And I think it's going to be a harder relegation fight this year as well, considering that the two promoted teams are looking stronger. So for both of them, it's looking bleak right now. I do agree with you, Rory.
Indeed. Right, let's do two winners then. We think that we've noted down, and right now, as things stand, we think that RB Leipzig are probably winners. Obviously, business done under new head coach Ole Werner. Obviously, their model right now is to recruit young players and try and blood them in, which they have been doing for a little while. I think the average age of the players they've signed is around 21, 22, according to Transfermarkt. Obviously, a lot of it relies on Xavi Simons to Chelsea and Benjamin Šeško's potential move to the Premier League. Either Newcastle or Man United are being touted. Simons is one that it seems inevitable. And obviously, they've been doing a lot of business Leipzig in anticipation for this. And there's 4 or 5 signings that they've made that really stand out. So obviously, I've already mentioned Finggrave coming in. 21 years old, very much well regarded German left back. Then you've got Jan Diomande, an 18-year-old winger from Leganés for 20 million euros. That's a nice scoop. As well as Johan Bakayoko, the 22-year-old from PSV. He was one very much linked and touted to go to Leverkusen. So Leipzig getting in ahead of Leverkusen with no European football. I think this is another thing why Leipzig are currently winners, because they're doing this business with no European football. So the pull of Leipzig is still strong. The project that they're working through. So yeah, Bakayoko is definitely one that is that excites. I think for sure. Another attacking midfielder is Maksimovic, another 18-year-old. He's coming in from Red Star. A couple of players from Red Star are actually coming into the league this season. Again, of high regard, as well as Banzuzi from Leuven. And those 5 players all coming in for just over 70 million euros combined. You have to say it's pretty good business, considering what they're going to recoup on Xavi Simons. And then obviously if they do that, a deal with Šeško, they're obviously demanding a high fee of at least 70. Well, I think Newcastle's bid was knocked back at 70 plus 5 add-ons. So I think you're looking at, if Šeško goes, it's going to be minimum 80, probably 75 guaranteed. So yeah, that'll be really interesting to see how that goes. Mark, what do you think about Leipzig? Then we'll finish up with a few other teams.
Yeah, I think there's some exciting signings in there. There really are. As you say, they are relatively limited because of no Europe this season. So I think they've done, as they often do, Leipzig, they've done a lot of business very early on, which is good. I think obviously they've clearly had the scouts, here, there, and everywhere, basically looking at some of these players. I think Bakayoko is the one that really stands out. Like, he was an excellent player in a good PSV Eindhoven side last year. I think he was the kind of marquee signing they brought in. And also they got him for 80 million euros when his market worth is 30 million as well, the 22-year-old. So I think that's an impressive one. I think Finkgraver as well, obviously we've seen a lot of him. He was playing the last time Köln were in the league. He's been a excellent left back for years now, for a couple of years. So I think I'm looking forward to seeing him at a higher level. I think the likes of Diomande, Banzuzi, and Maksimovic, they're very much signings for the future. Not sure whether they're going to make an instant impact, but I think it's exciting. This is what we love, isn't it, about the Bundesliga? We love to see these kind of players. Every year there are at least 3, 5, 10 players of this caliber that come through and just take the league by storm. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see at least one or two of them really kind of prove his worth as well. I think, obviously, good comment from Justin as well, saying that Banzuzi is a beast in the middle of the park. Yeah, should play well with Schlager. Definitely, I think he's going to be an exciting one to see. I think, obviously, the worry for Leipzig is it's very likely that Simmons and Šeško are going to go. But let's not forget that last season, neither of them, for me, really kind of hit the expectations, in truth. Obviously, the numbers were okay, but I think for the level, what people were expecting, the performances were often quite underwhelming at times. So maybe it's not as much of a loss as what people think, because at the end of the day, they got sixth with those two in the first team. So, I mean, obviously, they want to get a lot higher than that this season. So if they can recoup massive fees from the Premier League, then maybe it's not such a bad deal after all for those two players. Obviously, Simmons was signed for 70 million, I think it was. So I guess they're going to want even more than that if they do sell him. So I think you'd be looking at least 90, even 100 million. And for me, he's not on a 100 million euro player at this point after what we saw last season. So basically, I think it's decent business, and looking forward, as always, to seeing what Leipzig do with these young players and young team.
Precisely that. Right, let's talk about the champions. FC Bayern. Really, so far, I mean, you have to say they're winners. They've not done loads of business, have they? But the business that they have done, stands out, doesn't it? Obviously, Luis Diaz coming in, 70 million euros. Although was he plan A? Was he plan B? Maybe plan C or D? To be honest, the players that they were touted to be going after in the first place. I think they have done well, Bayern, but I think their transfer strategy so far has again been a little bit muddled. I felt that last season, and it kind of still paid off in certain ways. But again, some of the players that they've gone for, it hasn't necessarily gone as planned. Obviously, Jonathan Tah coming in as a leader from Leverkusen, direct rival for a minimal fee is superb business for them, and will just slot straight in. Obviously, Thomas Bischoff, highly regarded midfielder from Hoffenheim. The deal obviously was concluded halfway through last season. Only question around him is how much is he going to play behind Kimmich, Goretzka, Pavlovic. Although I think Pavlovic has now got an injury, so he might get some game time soon. And the fact that João Palhinha has gone out on loan to Spurs. And I guess really they'll be the biggest winners for me if the big transfer saga, across the Bundesrepublik goes ahead, which is obviously Nick Voltemade, and Bayern's pursuit of him. Obviously, Stuttgart are playing hardball, and that's absolutely what they should be doing in terms of his market value, and rejecting Bayern's bids so far, which I like. Obviously, as a Stuttgart sympathiser, but overall, so far I think we have to say Bayern look like a high quality side overall. Anything to add on Bayern, Mark, and then we'll just run through the rest of the teams very quickly.
Yeah, I think obviously we've got to mention that Mathys Tel has left the club as well. I think they've done well to get 35 million for him, really, because he's never really quite done it at the highest level, has he? He didn't really impress me much at Tottenham either when he joined them last season. So I'm a little bit surprised they've triggered that 35 million buy clause. But it is the Premier League after all. They've just got money to burn over there, basically, haven't they? I mean, they probably see 35 million as basically like a tenner and a packet of crisps, basically, over there. So it's like, I think obviously Asnu as well has left, a young promising left back as well, has gone to Everton. Palhinha, as you say, has left too. They're probably not overly bothered about that. Did he even play last season for Bayern? Like, not really. They've got a 5 million loan fee for him as well, just for 1 year. So, and probably quite a nice buyout clause as well in there. So, not a bad deal at all. Yeah, Brian Zaragoza was another failed signing in recent times. He's also left on loan. So, they've not always hit it that well in recent years, have they? There's been a lot of flops like Boe, Zaragoza, Palhinha. There's been a laundry list of failed signings. So they'll be hoping that Diaz can be more of a Michael Olise or a Harry Kane rather than a Palhinha or Sasha Boe, won't they? But definitely, still, it's a top squad as it always is with Bayern, and they don't really need like massive upheaval because normally they keep the best players at the end of the day there, don't they? So no real worries for them.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Right, I think with the rest of the teams, just from a time point of view, let's just maybe name a signing each, ingoing and outgoing, that we like the look of or think is a big impact outgoing. So, what teams have we not done? We've not done Werder. I mean, obviously Werder losing Cahun, the left back, left wing back. Him not being a permanent signing for me is quite a big blow. I think they would have really liked him to have stayed. Then obviously from a signing point of view, defensively they've brought in Verber on loan from Leeds, which is obviously an interesting one. Mark, what about Werder? An incoming? I left you a good one at least, and then an outgoing.
From anyone or just from Werder?
Just from Werder, and then we'll work our way through.
From Werder, well, they've not really done anything other than Mbalangu and Verber, have they? But I think they're two good signings, to be honest, for them. I think to get a young player from Juventus is really a kind of coup for Werder Bremen. You know, the left winger, Mbalunga, Bangula. We're going to have to get used to that one as well, Rory, this season. But as for outgoings, yeah, there's nothing like majorly concerning for Werder, but they have lost Velkovic, who was obviously a mainstay of the first team. He's actually gone to Red Star. Oliver Burke as well, one of the kind of more like niche transfer sagas of the summer, really, wasn't it? I mean, he put together that brilliant end to the season and then basically turned Werder down as if to say, like, you know, you've given me nothing the last 2 years, and then gone over to Union Berlin. So you could say that's a bit of a loss, but he was a very streaky player, Oliver Burke, wasn't he? He'd have 5 good games and he'd do nothing for 2 months, basically, you know. Yeah, obviously, Anthony Young has left a bit of experience at the back as well. So I'm not overly concerned by Werder's outgoings. Obviously, they brought in a new manager as well from Elversberg. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does as his first assignment in the Bundesliga. But all relatively okay in the north of Germany there in Bremen for me.
Lovely stuff. For my boys, incomings, I think one player I'll pick out. I'm going to go for Noah Darvic, who's obviously from the Barcelona setup. Looks like an exciting player for me. Really like the looks of that. Obviously, a few other players that they're being linked with. David Ornstein's just dropped an interesting one about Vieira, the Arsenal midfielder. So it'd be interesting to see where that goes. In terms of outgoings, obviously the biggest one that is going to happen, I think Fabrizio Romano gave it the old "here we go" is Mio. He's now off to Saudi, which is really sad, but with his buyout clause. Although I think it's slightly more than what was originally priced. I think it's 28 million euros. It's a disappointment, but I very much put Stuttgart right now in the mid-range. Myself, Mark, any other players from Stuttgart, incoming or outgoings that you've noted?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big name has been Assignon, hasn't it? The right back. I mean, they did need a right back. It's another player from Stade Rennes. I mean, they literally sell their entire squad every year, basically, don't they, Rennes? I mean, if you talk about selling clubs, they have to be the definition of it. But obviously, Stuttgart bought their latest right back as well. I think he must have been the replacement for Belocian, who went to Leverkusen last year, and he's already been snapped up by a Bundesliga club. You know, again, players from France are normally pretty okay, but I can't profess to know that much about him. But I think for Stuttgart to spend 12 million is a decent outgoing. I think one that surprised me as well with Stuttgart, Rory, was the sale of Chase, really. I'm not quite sure what was all that about, because he kind of really come through the youth and looked really good in those first few games. Maybe not good, that's maybe a bit of an exaggeration, but he looked like he got potential. You know, he played Champions League football at the end of the day. He got some good, minutes under his belt. Next thing, you're selling him for 2 million to RB Salzburg. Like, that just seems a little bit weird to me. I don't know how you feel as a Stuttgart fan about that one.
I think it did come out of the blue, but I do think that Jay started to fall down the pecking order as the season went on. I completely agree that he had an interesting, time of it and was very much thrust into the limelight. But, there were games where you just felt he was a mistake away. He was just a walking mistake, which is not ideal for a centre half or fullback. So like you say, an interesting one to pick out there. Definitely came out of the blue, I reckon. Right, shall we pick out a couple more? I mean, what have we got? Benedict Hollerbach.
Mainz, maybe.
Yeah, Mainz. So, Benedict Hollerbach makes his way over from Union Berlin, obviously to replace Johnny Burkhardt. It's an interesting bit of business. We've got Mainz in the mid category. I like the look of Sota Kawasaki, another Japanese midfielder, to beef up the midfield with his fellow international colleague Sano, who's done really well last season. So I like the look of those signings, but maybe I think maybe for mine it's just about keeping what they've got aside from Burkhardt. Keep Nabel, keep Amiri, keep players like that. I think they've done pretty well with a month to go. Maybe bring in one or two more. I think that's a great job from them.
Yeah, they've literally gone just 1 for 1, haven't they? They've sold Burkhardt, they brought in Hollerbach, and that's literally it, basically. They've just aimed at keeping the squad together, as you say, a very talented young squad there. There have been a couple of minor incomings, but I wouldn't imagine the likes of Boss or Kawasaki to be really first team potential. So I think it's just, as it often is with Mainz, it's just kind of low key a little bit more about like keeping the best players together. And I think they've done okay. I think Hollerbach is a fair replacement for Johnny B. They got a decent amount for Johnny B, who is injury prone, let's not forget. So to get more than 20 million for him, they'll probably be quite happy, in truth. I think if we move it on, who else have we not talked about? Augsburg. We might as well go through my Bavarian brothers as well, mightn't we? Augsburg have actually done quite good business, but more because they've got the better players from last season on a permanent. So they've got Matt Seamer in, Zessiger, who I think are two of the best defenders in the Bundesliga right now. I really feel that. I think just look at Matt Seamer now. His market worth is 22 million. I mean, that's a coup. It really is a coup for Augsburg. And the way he played the back end of the season was really strong. And Zessiger, another one with a 7 million market worth, another great signing. They brought in Masengo from Burnley, who I believe is a tough tackling central midfielder, only 24 years old. Saad is also a good pickup as well. Really impressive pickup. Obviously, a great first season in the Bundesliga last year. So they look pretty decent as well. No real major outgoings, really, because the players that left were already out on loan last season. So they got 5 million for Udokai, who was obviously out on loan last season. Bellio was also out. So things look pretty okay for them. We often see, some kind of late, drama with them losing a few key players the back end, don't we? But we'll have to see. But as things stand, I think Augsburg have also had a pretty solid but not spectacular window, I would say.
Yeah, agreed. We've not covered a couple other teams, so very quickly, Union Berlin getting Burke, I think is on a free is quite clever. Jong on a permanent basis, Illich, not bad. And then Ansa from Paderborn, one of those ones that you're not too sure about. Losing Hollerbach and Goossens is a bit of a blow, so I put Union very much in the mid category. But I like the way that they're trying to refresh the front line at least a little bit for me, and bring in some of those new players. I think could go well. Then we've not done Hoffenheim's an interesting one. Obviously, a blow for them losing Anton Stack to Leeds for a good amount of money. But then obviously Marius Buster has gone to Köln. Bischoff we already know about. So I think for them, Hoffenheim, it looks like they're really focusing on defensive areas of the pitch. So they brought in Koki Machida from Union Saint-Gilloise for almost 5 million euros. Bernardo's a good one. We like Bernardo from Balkan. Yeah. That's a good signing. And a couple of defensive midfielders. Wouter Berger from Stoke.
Saying it in a German accent now, Steve McLaren style.
I'm getting into it too much, aren't I? From Stoke City. Then another defensive midfielder, Leon Avdullah, I think, from Basel, 10 million euros. Again, I like the direction that they're going in, focusing on their defensive areas because they've been so poor defensively. So Union and Hoffenheim, I like the way that they're focusing on different areas of the pitch that they've struggled. Mark, do you want to just finish off with Wolfsburg and Gladbach, I believe?
Yeah, so obviously Wolfsburg have actually had a pretty good window for me. I put them down as a winner, actually. As always with Wolfsburg, money has been spent, as you would imagine, from this club, obviously sponsored by beleaguered Volkswagen nowadays, but still it doesn't stop the VfL juggernaut, does it? But they brought in Amura, who's probably the sign of the season for them. They've obviously got him on that permanent, haven't they? Obviously, he was only actually on loan last season with an option to buy. They picked him up for 15 million, just short of 15 million with a market worth of 32. So it's a hell of a pickup. I would expect another big season for him. Vinny Souza as well, is coming from Sheffield United. It seems to be a kind of trend that players from the Championship are getting picked up for huge money these days, doesn't it? So I'm always a little bit, I'm always a bit kind of skeptical about players that are signed for so much from a second tier of football, really, to be honest. But, I think he is obviously a highly rated Brazilian, 15 million. They paid exactly his market worth. They've also brought in Zentner. I think obviously Paderborn have been kind of raided this season, haven't they, by Bundesliga teams. They've brought in him. But I think another one I want to mention is Jesper Lindström as well. Let's not forget him from those fantastic times at Frankfurt. He didn't really do it at Napoli. And I think at Everton, did he even go on loan to Everton for a little bit too? But I think the Premier League's probably a little bit physical for him, to be honest, isn't it? So I think it's good to see him back in the Bundesliga. I think he's a fantastic loan sign who's going to add immediate quality to that team. Impressive for them. As for Gladbach, they've not done anywhere near as much business. They've only really brought in Shuto Machino, who, it's a good signing because he's such a workhorse and he's good. The fans are going to love him, basically. You can't not love him. I think it's a good pickup, really, for just 8 million for a proven Bundesliga goal scorer and assister. I think he'll add a bit of character to that, kind of laboured squad at times, really, isn't it? So I think it's a good pickup. Obviously, Jens Kastrop as well, know him very, very well. Has been a Nuremberg fan, box-to-box midfielder, really, really good player. But he did pick up an injury the back end of last season, so I hope he's okay to start this season. He does have obviously a competitive midfield to break into a Gladbach. Obviously, I would say central midfield is Gladbach's strongest position, really. So, the likes of Rocco Wright in their German under-21 international, a lot of good players in that part of the field. It's going to be a little bit tough for him, but I hope and wish him well. As for outgoings, Alassane Plea has finally left the Bundesliga. Yeah, I think he's one of the few players, Rory, that's been in there since we started doing the show, hadn't he?
Yeah,
so I was a little bit sad to see him go. But to be fair, they've got almost 5 million for a 32-year-old. So it's not a bad deal, really. The much maligned Kvanchara has finally left the league as well, going on loan to Turkey. So not really, I would expect a bit more from Gladbach, really. And I think I can imagine a few more signings coming in for them in the next 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, exactly that. And, just like that, an hour's gone by and we've managed to cover all 18 teams, transfer activity so far. So as you can see, we think some teams have done pretty well. We're slightly worried about others, and there's a lot of teams kind of in the middle. It's been great fun just to get ourselves started. First show as the Bundesliga channel. Honestly, it's been awesome just to get started. As I said, we've got loads of pre-season content planned. Definitely got a show for you next Monday. So excited to get that announced very soon. And then, just before we finish up, one more nod to the brilliant promotion that we've got going on with Covert Football Trips, which obviously is a special Bundesliga show discount for you guys if you use the code TBS50. When you're going through the checkout, you will get that £50 discount. Other really good things to note that you can put down a low deposit if you book 60 days in advance as well. So there's loads of benefits, honestly, to be going through the German mystery weekends. There'd be great fun. And so, very much recommend you doing that as well. So, over to you, Mark, to finish up the first show as the Bundesliga show channel.
Yeah, time just flies by, doesn't it, Rory? It really does. Yeah, obviously great to catch up with you all again. But if you enjoyed what you said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and also follow our channel, because obviously we have had this rebrand over the summer to the Bundesliga show. So, tell your friends about it. We're going to be 100% Bundesliga from here on in. So don't forget to check that out as well. Obviously we are also in partnership with Covert Football Trips as well, the Brilliant Rich too, and Bully News. Don't forget that. Also, don't forget all of our other socials as well, with the likes of Instagram, X, Threads, and Blue Sky, and whatever else they have out there these days. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us for the first show on the rebranded Bundesliga show. And we'll see you again later on for more, build up to this season. So thanks a lot, guys, and servus. Bye-bye.
Cheers all.